Hello, welcome back to another video tutorial here at Geekatplay Studios. My name's Gary Miller. A couple months ago, a fella contacted me in the forums at Geekatplay and asked me, how do you model a racetrack? Well, I had thought about it for a little bit and I came up with a way, unfortunately the only way I could think of at the time, to model a racetrack. And I fulfilled the request. I created two tutorials and it yielded satisfactory results. Satisfactory if you have low expectations. Uh, um, I wouldn't do that again, though. But it was all I could think of at the time. Well, this morning while I was enjoying my coffee, searching the internet, I stumbled upon a tutorial for the modeling program 3ds Max. And for whatever reason, I just clicked on it. And when I did, I saw that the written tutorial was for modeling a banana. And the minute I saw the first picture of how the person was modeling the banana, it clicked in my head that this is the process I should have used several months ago when I made my first tutorials on how to model a racetrack. So this is another modeling program, but this is a much better way to model a racetrack or anything that would be like a racetrack. So I'm going to stay in perspective view and I'm just going to rotate around so I'm looking straight down on my modeling grid here. I'm going to come over here to lines. I'm going to choose polyline and I'm just going to click in here, hit my spacebar to constrain the movement of this tool to a horizontal axis, and I'll just click there. It doesn't matter the length of this polyline. I can always change it and shorten it as I get on later in the next steps of this tutorial. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to arc. I'm going to choose the first one here, or any of them really. I'm going to click here, hit my space bar, which will constrain the movement of this horizontally, and I'll click again, come over here, click again. Now I've got a 180 degree bend. I'm going to control D to duplicate that, turn off my little lightning bolt, and move this one right over here. Come up here to select points, right click, drag a selection around half of those points, and I'm going to delete them. Now if I had a specific shape of a racetrack in mind, say I was going to model some European racetrack that had all sorts of bends and curves in it, I would probably want to create those right now rather than later, because we're going to use these three pieces that I've created to put together a racetrack. And right now you can do a lot with a 90-degree bend like right here. You can certainly do a lot with a 180-degree bend and a straight piece. But if you have a particular profile in mind that would not be able to be created using these three basic shapes, you'd probably want to go ahead and create that line right now before we begin this next process. Okay, well, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to rotate it this direction. Come on now, there we are. And for this next process, I want to make sure I have room here and so that these things don't get in the way. And move that one over and down. Okay, I'm going to right click, drag a selection around all three of them. I'm going to come over here to offset curve, and I have no specific set value in mind, but let's just say 25. I'm going to give it a number of 25 and I want to do it outside curve. The reason why I'm putting in a specific value is that should I change my mind and want to create another line here later on, I know now the specific value of the offset so that when I go to create it, I can make it of the same dimensions as these, and I don't have to worry about trying to make it fit later on. So I'm going to put in a specific number here, even though I really don't have any specific number in mind. And I'll go ahead and validate that. Okay, let's come over here to surface modeling. Click on ruled surface. I'll click there, validate that. Ruled surface again, click there, validate that. Ruled surface again, click there, validate that. I'll come back over to kind of more of a perspective view here. Turn off my background modeling plane. I'll rename this to straight. Click on there. I'll just name this 90 and this one to 180. Enter. Okay, now I've got three essential pieces that I can use for pretty much any shape that I want, unless it's some real custom shape. Well, before we make any mistakes, let's select all those, Control D to duplicate them, hit the group icon. Let's put them all in a group. Well, we're just going to save these for later. In case we make a mistake and we want to revert back to a saved version of any of these three pieces, I'm just going to group and set those aside. Okay, let's just create a basic shape here. We've got a 90-degree bend, or it's almost a 90-degree bend. Let's take this piece, Control D to duplicate that. You never know. I don't want to have to dig into my reserve group over here. And I'll Control D and duplicate that one as well. Okay, let's take this. Let's use our Snap Align tool. Snap there, validate that. Right click, set pivot point. I'll set the pivot point. I want it to be right there. There we are. Now I can bring this just a little bit closer to where I want it to be. There we are. And let's rotate this one around. And we'll put this one over here. Right click, set the pivot point of this object right there. Now let's use our Snap Align tool. Snap there, validate that, and let's line up our edges. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because we're going to weld some points together. Now, let me select all three of these, weld them together. I'm going to come use my Select Edges tool. I'm going to select that edge and loop it. But notice it's not looping all the way around. Select there, loop it. Oh, it's not looping all the way around. Select there, loop it. It's not looping all the way around. That's because even though we welded this piece together, we still have some line breaks where these pieces are joined. We need to weld these points together in order to successfully move on to the next phase. So I'm just going to grab my select points, right click, drag a selection around there. Now probably what I'm going to do is hit my space bar to hide my axis widget. I'm going to come up here and use my press T and weld those together. Now I don't know if I actually created a hotkey for this, but the tool I am using is Target Weld, and it shows a hotkey shortcut of T, but I don't know if that's default or if it's something that I did myself. So the tool I'm actually using is Target Weld. Okay, still with points enabled, select those points, hit my T or Target Weld, and I'm just going to click on them. Those two are selected. Let's move over here. I'll select those first. T, weld those together. Select those. T, weld those together. And that's that. Let's come over here to select edges. Loop that. There we go. Now it's selecting the entire object. And that's important because if I create a huge racetrack and I want to start creating some offsets, some duplicating some of these edges, I'm going to want to be able to do it accurately by having the ability to select all of them and run this the edge tool up here, the extract edge tool, and have it work on the entire racetrack rather than have to split the task up and do it well, as we say in America, piecemeal or in little pieces. Okay, first thing I want to do now is come over here to free tessellate, and I'm going to click on tessellation by slice, hold down my shift key, and put a cut right down through the center. Now I know where the center of this racetrack is. Now this is so much better than my first modeling program because look at all of my lines, all of my points are perfectly lined up. I have good looking geometry in the shape of my polygons. I don't have any ingons or three-sided or 20-sided cubes, not cubes, polygons. Everything is looking really good. Okay, so let's select this center edge. I'm going to loop that. I'm going to come up here and use this extract around tool, and I'm just going to drag it out here to the edges till they're offset just a little bit. And with this line still selected, I will do this one more time, and I'm going to do it a third time. Now I'm just eyeballing this. If you want to be absolutely precise, help yourself. Go ahead, be my guest. Now I'm going to add one level. I'm going to come over here to select faces. I'm just going to add one level of smoothing to this. Now check this out. I'm going to select that edge, select that edge. I'm going to loop that and hit the space bar to bring my widget back. Now watch what happens when I drag upwards. I've got a nice racetrack here, curbing or whatever you would want to call it. Yeah, speed curbs. I don't know. I'm not a racing enthusiast, but it's something like that. Okay, let's click off of it and have a look at what we've got. We do have some issues here. Let's just select these points, make sure they are welded together. I might want to select my object here. Let's see if I can select those points. Now I probably will have to collapse my dynamic geometry. Let's see what happens there. Target weld. Well, you know what? The whole problem went away when I collapsed my dynamic geometry. If you're a Cinema 4D user, that was kind of looking like a Phong shading issue. But by collapsing the dynamic geometry, let's undo that. Our shading issue went away. So when you go about creating these curves like this, or these curbs like this, and you run across these shading issues, wait until you're done with the whole thing before you collapse your dynamic geometry. So there we go. I think you will agree that this method yields far more professional results, absolutely professional results, very accurate, very good looking, and boy, it's so much faster and easier. And this is, with this particular method, you don't have the UV problems that you would have with the first racetrack method I did, because your UVs are in beautiful shape to begin texture mapping this if you chose to. And with this particular method, it allows you to use the tools that Hexagon has more than have to individually move some edges, move points around. There's a lot less manual work in this method and in this approach than with the first one. So this is definitely the tutorial that I should have made several months ago, but we all live and we all learn, and we move on from there. So I hope this method will be of use to you, and not only if you're going to make a racetrack, but anything else that would be similar to this. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching here at Geekatplay Studios. My name's Gary Miller. Have a good day.